Hey folks, I'm Mitch Monroe, MLF Pro Angler, and this is my bass cave. We're out here in Oakdale, California, right by the Delta, Don Pedro, McClure, Clear Lake, the best lake in the country, only 2 hours away. Let's go check out my bass cave. We're talking over 3,000 square feet. You gotta have room for your boats. As you can see, I've got two bass boats here. Got East Coast boat, West Coast boat, because I do fish a lot, you know, whether I'm fishing the Bass Pro Tour or I'm fishing the Toyota Series out west, I've gotta have a boat for each one. Running Skeeter FXR 21s with the new Yamaha 250 SHOs on them. Bob's hydraulic jack plates. These boats haven't even been unwrapped yet and rigged, and so you don't see any power poles, but we will have them on there. Ghost trolling motor from Lowrance, full Lowrance packages. And let's get into what I love, and I consider my love of my life is my fishing boat. The Saltwater boat. We're talking about a 34-foot center console. I've got roughly in the ranges of about 250 miles out there on the ocean, which is a lot of water to cover. Not a lot when you're trying to chase those big tuna, which you guys have seen on my Instagram and Facebook. The 425 XTOs get me where I'm going and get me back. Full Simrad electronics running, radar on it. And at 34 feet, it's a little bit bigger on the trailer. Sits in my garage just perfectly. And as you can see, I've got the doors on both sides so I can drive through. I've got enough room to have my truck and my boat hooked up here. So after a long day fishing a Toyota Series event, you pull in here, plug in, and you're ready to go for next morning. So now let's go check out the tackle room. So as we've got, you got to have your stuff rigged for your boat. You know, I've got sets of power poles, Lowrance electronics, and obviously everybody's been intrigued by the active targets, and you definitely have to have the Lowrance active target on your boat. I mean, it's basically, I almost say it's like cheating, because you can see the fish there, cast to them, see your lure, watch them eat your lure, so that's pretty cool. And as you can see, got a complete lineup of rods and reels. My reels here are all Daiwa reels. That's what I fish with because they're the best reel on the market. Two sets. You gotta have two sets of tackle when you're fishing on the East Coast and West Coast. Trying to ship it back and forth is way too much. And then obviously gotta have my saltwater gear out here. The new Saltigas, which is probably one of my favorite reels. This one here is the 35 2-speed. It's probably the reel that I use the most for chasing those tuna. Anywhere from 20 pounds all the way up to 100 pounds, you can land them on the 35 series 2-speed. Got to have lots of sunglasses. The aqua green mirror is probably one of my most popular ones. I've got the grays out here for when I'm fishing in the salt water. And then having my spare Lowrance electronic parts. And then it's also having some spare tackle in there. You know, when you're out here fishing, you got to have the river to sea big swim baits, the JSJS trout. You know, definitely one of the baits for catching some of those big fish, especially when you're up at Clear Lake and you're trying to gear up towards those. This is it, folks. When you talk about tackle, this is pretty much my tackle for two boats and for all of the seasons. I've got my Biggie Series crankbaits right here, which is pretty much the only square bill that I need. All the special TS Minnow, I'm Sexy, I mean Delta Craw. You know, we've got it. I mean, you've got it. You know, I know it. I mean, we're just all, and even a couple special paints that, you know, they've actually eaten the paint off of the crankbaits because they eat them so well. But having your Biggie Series crankbaits lined up and getting down to my plastics. Missile baits, D-bomb. If you don't own a D-bomb, you're not fishing for the right fish. I mean, pink belly, peanut butter and jelly, candy grass. I mean, watermelon red flake. You really can't go wrong with any of those colors. I mean, but I've got all my tackle lined up right here. I mean, I keep them organized in these racks right here, some spare river to sea baits, and then we get over to fishing line. I mean, you can never have enough fishing line, from the new Samurai J Fluoro from 5 pound all the way up to 25 pound. I've got to have each one of those. And then I've got my braided line. I've got my fluorescent 10 pound for when I'm fishing on the spinning reels. Yes, the fairy wands. I do own a few fairy wands, not too many of them, but gotta have for that. Got my green, got my blue for when I'm out there saltwater, and then having all my rods. And, you know, from my samples of the new, you know, Daiwa Tatula Elites to having regular Daiwa Tatula Elites, you know, ready to go for when I'm out there on tour. As you can see, I've got a few from one of the last events that I fished out on Don Pedro, and having the River to Sea Rover tied on Brent Ehlers with the Tatula SV. You know, folks, if you're not fishing with a Tatula SV, you're spending a lot of time picking out backlashes. The Tatula SV reduces backlashes to the point where I can set this reel up, make a cast, not even have my thumb on the spool, and never get a backlash on it. And then Brent Ehlers bladed jig rod makes a great topwater rod at the same time. So then we get over into my little saltwater corner. I call this my saltwater corner because, as you can see, I'm geared up with all the big saltigas, the big swim baits for fishing for link cod. As you can see this thing coming through there. Link cod, one of the best eating fish. I don't care what people say about crappie and walleye. Link cod is awesome. And I mean, it looks like actually like a walleye. It's a saltwater walleye. It's a lot meaner and it's pretty badass. And then you got baits like these for your wahoo fishing. And as you can see, it's got plenty of teeth marks in it. And on one of my last trips, you can see I hooked something that bent this hook out. We have no idea what it was, but it bent that hook out. And for it to bend that hook out, that had to be pretty big. But you can see this thing's been chewed up multiple times too by multiple wahoo fishing on a steel leader. That right there is probably the best eating fish in the ocean all the way around, but it's the meanest. You're talking 60 miles an hour of a fish swimming by and biting through your lure. So it's pretty cool. Got my little saltwater corner here. This here is my setups for, you know, pretty much when I'm at home and I need to grab rods and reels to go. Like, I keep my boats pretty empty. I got my Daiwa rack here. I grab a rod out. Yes, I even got my Ferron rigged right here. The Cody Meyer 77.4 versatile rod, one of my favorite spinnings with what I call the Ferrari of spinning reels, the Daiwa Exist. I mean, the Exist is the smoothest thing. Folks, it has been known to cause divorces because it's so smooth and you spend so much time playing with it that you should be paying attention to your mate, but this thing just is pretty smooth, and that's the only spinning reels that I fish with. Got my frog rods. Obviously, as you can see, multiple frog rods. Same thing, Daiwa Tatula SV, but this one has the best frog fisherman's name on it, signature series, Monroe. He is officially the best frog fisherman out there. Yeah, you got guys like Rojas and Crochet and Wheeler who claim to be frog fishermen, but I'm devoted to it, dedicated to it 24/7. So that is my rods, that's my saltwater, that's my line, that's my power poles. This is kind of my little junk corner of things that, you know, you need to have. Yeah, when I go up and I fish for smallmouth, yeah, I've got my gulp scent, but one thing about having the gulp alive, it's not necessarily gulp baits that are in there, but missile baits in the gulp juice. And basically you got the bomb shot right there, the missile baits bomb shot in the gulp juice for them smallmouth. And so when you say, oh, he's fishing Berkeley, nope, I'm fishing the gulp scent. Yeah, you got a few things, you know, Zoom speed worm down there, missile baits, some trash fish, but this is kind of my, what I call my junk pile, plano boxes, extra plano boxes, storage from, you know, Pops' boat. I have to store his stuff here too for his Lowrance Electronics. This is a pretty cool thing that I put in my boats is, you know, the trick fishing battery trays, made by one of our other MLF guys who fishes the pro circuit, Billy Hines. He makes these. I mean, he makes them for all sizes, 24, 27, and 29 group size batteries, but these things are going to hold your boat. And we go to some pretty rough water, you know, you go up to the Great Lakes, you got to have good battery trays. So I keep those and put those in my boat. And you know. But now I've showed you my tackle room. I've got one more special thing to show you guys. Come on, let's take a walk. Well, you guys got to see the cave where, you know, all the magic pretty much happens, but this is the end result to all of that is the tournament wins. And you guys know that I'm a beast on the Delta and I catch them there. I've got my National Guard win there. I've got a Stren Series win there, but the most recent is the Toyota Series event last year that I pretty much blew out the event. It's a pretty awesome event. I mean, I caught a lot of big fish in that event. And then this year I ended up finishing fourth, which kind of sucks, but hey, still close to a win. And I was actually leading going into the last day, but it's just my trophy cases. These are all my big wins. I've got tons of trophies, but I only put the big wins out there and stuff like that, the ones that actually mean a lot to me. And last but not least, let's head back to the office. As you can see, you know, front cover, Boat US, Angler Magazine, some Bass Times. Got one of the biggest fishes that I caught in an event. This is actually probably a turn for me in my career. It was one of those events where I was getting pretty low. I had been having a pretty rough season overall, and I had caught them decent the first day, and I had 3 fish going into the last hour, and I just started looking on my Lowrance GPS, and I found this one culvert that I hadn't fished, and I ran over there, and I'd been fishing a Texas rig, lizard, and just kind of pitching around, and so I throw the lizard up there, I get bit, I set the hook, and actually he was hung on the culvert. It was like in the culvert and I couldn't move it, and I was getting ready to break it off, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna sit here and I'm gonna pull. And I pulled, straight up pulled, and all of a sudden it came out. This fish rolled to the top. I grabbed it, threw it in the live well. I thought it was like a 6 or 7 pounder, and it actually being 10 pounds, 15 ounces. And after that, I went on a straight run of 4 straight more events in the top 10 and ended up making the championship. It was just a really, really good event. But as you can see, I'm still hanging some of my photos up there of, you know, my FLW front cover down at Lake Okeechobee. Caught that fish on a frog. If you go to FLW, their media website, they actually still have the video of me catching this fish.
Got it, big one. Oh my God, that's a big one. That's a real big one. That's a giant one. Look at that one. And that's what I'm talking about right there. That's what you catch when I say swinging them in the boat. Oh my goodness. Oh. Ish's Fat Frog. This is Ish Monroe, Beyond the Basics. This is what you catch with frog fishing.
On the website still, so it's pretty cool. The MLF FLW deal, Bassmasters, of course, and you know, got my MLF jerseys here, as you can see from the Cup events. My General Tire there, the Toyota, the Starbright, B&W trailer hitches, I mean Lowrance, you know, a lot of the great sponsors, and these are just from some of my Cup events, some of my other older jerseys in here that I donate and use for, you know, giveaways and raffles to help support the high school kids. So folks, you'll see a lot of the jerseys on Brody of the Lake on eBay, and that money is going towards a couple of high school programs in Houston and Oakdale, and so definitely bid on those. And that is my Bass Cave. I'm Ish Monroe. I appreciate you guys coming and checking everything out.